Hey, what's up guys? Jason Julius here, and it is thundering and lightning and raining in San Diego. So what better day to create a video about performance anxiety, right? Like dun dun dun. Actually, this video is actually inspired by an email that was written into our customer support team from someone on our newsletter who basically had a question about performance anxiety. And his question was, if I can find it here, is, hey Jason, I am embarrassed to be writing to someone about this. Every time I try to get intimate with a woman, I get performance anxiety and I cannot get hard. And can you give me any advice on what to do? Because when I'm alone or if I fantasize about women, I have no problem with this. And actually, yes, I can definitely help you out. And in order to do that, we need to really kind of maybe get into some inner game stuff that I've maybe never talked about. So if you're a guy listening to this, I'm pretty sure every guy has lost it in an erection at one point or had some amount of performance anxiety, even if it's not in the bedroom, whether it's approaching a woman that you see that's beautiful and you aren't sure if you should do it, or if you're trying to get up in front of people and talk. There's a huge benefit in understanding the operating system of the mind, so to speak, to understand what's going on when you sabotage yourself, right? Because there you are, intimate with your woman. You wanna please her, but you wanna also enjoy the experience yourself. And then your mind comes in and it sabotages you. And I think what we're gonna talk about in this video will give you so many insights, not only on, performance anxiety, so to speak, but also what's going on in your woman's mind so that you can understand how to get her present. Just maybe even understanding your own mind in general, which I know is kind of a big topic. So I'm gonna try to keep it relatively simple and short, but I had this problem a long while back. My very first love cheated on me, and then I had so much anxiety about me being not good enough in the bedroom. And the women that I dated after that, I found myself having, performance anxiety because I was so caught inside of my own head thinking about, was I being, good enough? Was I a good enough lover? I was so stuck up here that I wasn't allowing myself to just be myself. And it was self-sabotaging. It was like, you want to have an erection, but you think about it too much, and then you actually lose your erection, and then you see yourself lose your erection. And then the next time that you are intimate with your partner, your brain goes, yep, see, we lose our erection, and it just becomes this spiraling out of control until all of a sudden you get anxiety, you don't trust yourself, and you don't allow yourself to let go. You get very stuck in a certain part of your mind, right? So why does our mind do this? It's because there's a part of your mind that's always there trying to protect you. One of the things that I've found so amazing about meditation and why I've been meditating so much recently is I used to roll my eyes at meditation, if that makes any sense. That people are like, meditation's so cool. And I'm like, why? You just sit there and, what do you really get out of it? And it wasn't until it was explained to me in such a way where I see it now as a way to understand the operating system of your mind. And what I mean by that is when you're sitting there and you're, trying to become present, it's funny how much your mind fights you on that. You start to realize that there's this voice in your head that's always talking. It's the voice that kind of says a lot of mean crap to you all the time. And it's always fighting with you. It's always saying negative things. And that part of your mind is just the protector. A lot of people call it the ego. Then you have another part of your mind that starts to show up, and that's the part of you that wants to do big things. It's the part of you that doesn't really necessarily think about all the steps to get there, but it really wants to, start that business, approach that woman, be that bigger version of you. And you kind of see that it actually is in a little bit of a battle with the ego. And then when you actually meditate for, maybe there's some thunder out there, for like 60 to 90 days, you start to realize that you are neither one of those things, if that makes sense. You are actually just the stage, so to speak, the container for those voices and those feelings that you feel inside of yourself. You might be going, okay, where are you going with this? Well, I think the advantage to understanding the mind and understanding that we are not the chatter that is in our mind, and we're not necessarily even the feelings that we're feeling at any given time. Those feelings are automatic unconscious reactions, and we're just the observer or the container of this. We can kind of start to understand that the ego part of our mind that's always trying to protect us becomes a bit of a saboteur, right? You want to go approach that beautiful woman. The higher part of your mind, some people call that the heart, some people call it like the higher level thinking. That part of your mind is just, that woman's beautiful, I want to go approach her. That part of your mind is like, I hate my job, I want to quit and start this business and do something else. But then something else comes in. That is the ego part of your brain. Some people call it the monkey mind, some people call it the lizard brain, but it's that part of your mind, it's the voice you hear inside your mind that sabotages it. So your mind says, oh, I really want to approach that woman. Then this other voice comes in about 3 to 5 seconds later and is like, yeah, but what if she has a boyfriend? Yeah, but she's busy right now. Yeah, but whenever you have that yeah, but in your mind, that's typically your ego. That's the part that's trying to be the protector of you because it doesn't want you to do anything outside the boundaries of what it knows. And if it makes any associations to something equaling pain, it will bring it up as if it's life or death. And that's what I'm getting at here. Your mind wants to quit the job and go do something amazing, but the saboteur, that ego part of your brain, is like, no, like we get great benefits here. This is secure. I have kids. Even though there's a million, examples of people who have kids who, were able to, provide and do all the things otherwise and go for their dreams. The ego part of your mind is that part that's kind of always keeping you in your small story of who you are. And it wants to, protect you so that you can be safe, so that you can be loved. And anything that is a threat to that part of your mind brings about terrible feelings. It makes you feel so uncomfortable, right? That's why you get approach anxiety when you try to approach a woman. Your mind's like, I don't know her. What am I gonna say? All these things to interrupt the fact that, like, if you just didn't pay attention to that voice, you could freely walk over there, introduce yourself, and start a nice conversation with a person you don't know. But that part of your mind that's like, that's scary, that's your ego trying to protect you. But that's not who you are. It's just a part of who you are. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is when you're in the bedroom and you're feeling anxiety, or if you're gonna get up and give a speech and you're getting anxiety, that is just a part of you trying to protect you. It's a primitive part of your mind that's just, screaming and wailing. And if you give into it, if you think that's who you are, if you think that you're having anxiety, you give it energy. But when you actually just realize that's only a part of you, it's only a part of, your experience, you can learn to love it. You could say, okay, I'm starting to feel that anxiety and it's creeping up. What part of my mind is thinking that? And you get to start to uncover why you're having anxiety. You get to start to uncover that part of your brain is actually just feeling like it's not going to be loved if you don't get an erection. If you don't impress her, you're going to lose something, is what your primitive mind thinks. Even though on a bigger level, you're like, wow, she's naked, I really want to just have sex right now. That protector part of your brain sees it as a threat because you might lose out on something. So what you can do once you understand that it's not a threat to your mind, that's just a part of your mind, that's lighting up, trying to, save you. You can stop giving it energy and you can love it. And the reason why I say love it is because when that feeling comes up, if you fight it, if you resist anything coming up emotionally and you don't just let yourself feel it, this little guy's probably scared of the thunder. If you don't let yourself feel it, then you're going to actually make it worse. If you actually try to fight it, you just give it energy. So when you're feeling anxiety, say, oh wow, there's that part of my mind that's making me anxious if I don't get an erection. I love that. I love that I may not be able to get an erection right now. And I know that sounds really weird, but it's like, maybe the universe is just giving you something else. You know, maybe you're getting an opportunity to be vulnerable with your woman and just say, whoa, look, I just need to slow down for a second. And you get the opportunity to learn something about yourself. Maybe, you know, the universe or God or whatever you believe is delivering this for you to be able to evolve into something outside of what you've done before. But when you actually think of it on such a small scale, like I have to get an erection, the meaning is so intense, you just can't escape it. And you're going to create, self-sabotaging loop that just keeps happening. But how tactically do we actually tune in and recognize that in the moment? And one of the best ways to do that is just to tune into your state. If you're actually in the moment and you're starting to lose your erection, tune into the only things that you can tune into to change your state. And that is your physiology. So, you know, your breathing, the muscles in your body, just relax them. You know, you start to tense up like, oh my God, I'm losing my erection. Well, you know, you're gonna really have a hard time getting an erection with all your muscles tight. So tune into your physiology, tune into your breathing, slow your breathing down, breathe from your diaphragm. And that shifting of your state, when you actually are relaxing into your diaphragm and the muscles in your body are completely relaxed, it's actually impossible to feel anxiety when you actually let yourself go. So that gives you something new to tune into, because one of the other things that you need to change is your focus. When you change your focus from, oh my God, I'm losing my erection, to I just need to take a second and tune into my physiology. I just need to take a second to be me. I need a second to just, you know, recognize that this is just a part of me trying to protect me and everything's okay. When you change your focus to something else, to tuning out, maybe you even take a second to, you know, maybe you're losing your erection during sex, or you're about to put yourself inside of her and you're, you know, not hard yet. Well, maybe you actually just need a breather. Maybe you need a second. And I know so many times for me that I've went down to perform oral sex or, you know, touch her G-spot or A spot. And while I'm doing that, I'm actually doing it, you know, for her, which is awesome. But I'm also kind of doing it for me, because I'm giving myself a break, because I'm not always on point at all. Like, I still will get some of those old feelings, right? And I think every single guy does. But I think when you actually just say, okay, I'm just gonna shift down here, and now my focus is on, you know, I might be stimulating her G-spot, but I'm also tuning into my physiology and really bringing myself back to the moment and really getting a hold of that part of me that's like going wild, like, I'm just trying to protect you, but I'm gonna give you a ton of anxiety and make you lose your erection at the same time. And I can allow myself to kind of laugh at that happening and love it instead of resisting it. Then it just passes through you. And I think one of the other things, when I say that there's the only things you can change, your physiology, your focus, the other thing that you can change is the meaning of the situation. Not only in the moment do you shift the meaning so that you can be in a better state, you know, the meaning being like, I might just, instead of like, oh my God, I'm losing my erection, the meaning might be like, oh, I just need a second, it's no big deal. But internally, you need to change the meaning of what it means to lose your erection, because if inside you think that losing your erection is so embarrassing and, you know, she's gonna judge you for it, that is going to create something in your ego to come up to try to protect you, because it thinks that there's a threat because you're losing your erection, because you are the one making it a big deal. You are the one judging yourself, rather than not making it a big deal, allowing it to just be a natural part of life. Like, look, hey, I sometimes am just not with it, and I can't get an erection, and I have a whole course on how to get erections on command, using things like anchoring and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I can have a lot of pressure on me because the person the woman I'm dating knows that I have that, but yet I still have a hard time performing at certain moments. Maybe I'm just off physically. Maybe I'm, just not in the right state or whatever. Nobody's perfect all the time. So I think what you need to understand, and why I'm being that, open and honest is I want you to know that not everyone is perfect. Not every guy is getting a hard on super hard every single time. And you need to be okay with the fact that, like, hey, sometimes you just don't get an erection. Stop making the meaning of that so intense to yourself that it, is like a terrible thing if you don't get hard. If anything, it might create a vulnerable moment for you and your woman to connect even more. It may be this very, you finding this video and it, teaching you maybe something about your mind you didn't know, and it was a gift for that to happen, right? So always zoom out to the bigger picture instead of being so in the moment, and that will help you escape that saboteur, that ego part of your mind that is just there to protect you, and it will do it at any cost of anything that it sees as a threat. And you hold the meaning of what it interprets as a threat, if that makes sense, right? Like, if you give it such an intense meaning that it's so terrible that you lose your erection, that will create more of ego problems, more of an anxiety. But when you just say, who cares? Like, seriously, what? You're not gonna die if you don't get an erection, but your ego almost thinks you will. That part of your brain that wants to protect you takes anything as a threat, and it starts to just, make it a bigger deal than it really is, right? If you wanted to go approach a beautiful woman, what's the worst that could happen? You go over there, maybe you make her laugh a little bit, and you don't really mash up, and she has a boyfriend, and you just met somebody new. But what we often do is we get so caught in our head, and we're worried about what to say to her, and like things could go wrong and all this stuff, that we create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, we go over there and we're fumbling over our words. We're so inside of our head instead of just entering into her world and trying to like see where she might be and, present ourselves in like a fun way that we really are. We're trying so hard to be something that we're not. And that all comes from a perfectionist mindset, right? So, nobody's perfect, and nobody's perfect at getting an erection every time. Nobody's perfect at being like super amazing at anything at any given time. I get really inside of my head before I, have to give a talk or before I do one of these videos. And sometimes you just actually need to just start to get into a flow state and realize that those little voices are gonna creep up. Just be like, oh, there it is, I love that. There it is, I love that. And just let it be there instead of being like, oh my God, I'm really getting inside of my head. Oh my God, it's happening again. Oh my God, this or that. Your brain gets addicted to that. Like, it's like loves sabotaging itself. I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense. And at any given moment, to really just shift your focus, if you find yourself, getting into that anxiety or overthinking while you're having sex, use Mel Robbins has an awesome book called I think the book's just called The 5-Second Rule, but she talks about this in terms of like, your mind does have that saboteur in it, and it takes about 3 to 5 seconds for it to kick in. So anytime you start to feel that anxiety, just start counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, completely change your focus and shift away from it. She uses it for, helping people motivate themselves and, get outside of this ego, this saboteur, because from the moment your alarm clock goes off, and then, your ego wants to keep you comfortable, right? So it's gonna wanna hit the snooze button. And in order to train yourself not to do that kind of stuff, you have to give yourself 5 seconds to get out of bed. You have to give, the second you want to like create something, give yourself, 5 seconds and start doing it, because, or if you see that beautiful woman and you want to approach her, give yourself no more than 5 seconds and start walking over there, because if you wait any longer than that, that's when that saboteur starts to kick in. If you walk up and just start talking to her without even thinking about it, you're not inside your head, you're more in your heart, you're in your higher level thinking, and you're not all heady with it. And I know a lot of us guys get very heady and we like to think and all this kind of stuff. And I think a lot of the guys who I've taught for this last, 12 years on giving women full body orgasms, I know a lot of them are very logical thinkers and they really want to please their woman and they get really inside of their head. But what they don't really understand is they really need to be in that higher level part of their mind. And so does she. And that's why I was talking about that earlier, is understand that she also has a saboteur inside of her head where she's wondering if she's enough. She's wondering what you're thinking. She's wondering, a million different things. She's maybe still, her ego is maybe still in a loop of something that happened that was threatening to her at work if she hasn't even had time to slow down. And when we talk about getting a woman present in order to orgasm, we need to understand that we need to get her, mind to quiet down and help interrupt her. We can do that by shifting her physiology, the meaning of the situation and the focus, and really pulling her into the present. And when a woman escapes that part of her mind and actually becomes fully present, it's so amazing because she'll oftentimes have an orgasm she didn't know she could have, but it's not necessarily always what you're doing physically. It's about your ability to actually, interrupt that part of her that normally is there to sabotage her, that's making her overthink. Because for women, it's absolutely critical for them to be able to, quiet that part down and get very present. For a lot of women who haven't practiced doing that very practice, or just even getting into meditation and understanding their mind, can often be one of the best practices they can do in order to let themselves orgasm, because they really need to quiet down their mind. But so do we. When it's time to have sex, that's a very primal action. It's, you need to be very present in the moment, and your mind is trying to be in the game as well, and it's constantly scanning for anything that's threatening. And if what you perceive as a threat, even if it's not real, if it's just me not getting an erection equals embarrassment, then it's going to try to sabotage you. But if you actually change the meaning of that to yourself, both internally and when it's happening, and just say, oh, it's happening again. I love that. It's okay. It's fine. I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna touch her A spot for a while. I'll give her 2-3 orgasms. I'll check into my physiology. No big deal. But when it's happening, if you panic, like, oh my God, I should have an erection right now, your mind's gonna go, oh, I know I should have an erection. This is a threat. It's going to sabotage you. So you really need to check into what your beliefs are about it, and just know that in the moment you have the power over your own mind to just really, again, just control the only things you can control in any given moment. And that's your physiology, what you're focusing on, and the meaning of the situation. Give yourself a huge break. Understand that it happens to everybody. And that even goes with if you need to give a speech or anything big, it's like, you're gonna have that part of your mind that comes up like, what if it goes bad? What if people judge me? And if you recognize that part of your mind is not who you are, it's just a part of your mind, and you zoom back and you actually, meditation can really help, because it actually makes you zoom back and see yourself not as that voice, not as the higher level thinking, but the container for both of them. And it gives you so much more control to pull back and just say, oh, that little ego, it feels like it's such a big part of who you are because it influences how you feel sometimes. But it's really just like that 5-year-old kid inside of you that's trying to be protected at all times. So when you actually turn around and say, I love that you're there, that voice sometimes just shuts the fuck up. It's kind of, I say that with intensity because that voice can be annoying. It can be self-sabotaging. And once you really learn that, you can see the hot girl and there's the voice. I'm gonna ignore that and go over it and try to create an opportunity to, have someone awesome in your life, instead of just staying back and staying small and being like, oh, she's busy. I don't know what to say. You're never gonna be perfect. You're never gonna have the perfect thing to say, and you're never gonna always get an erection, and just be cool with that. And making that mental shift is so critical. And yeah, I hope that that helps you understand a little bit about your mind. I know I probably ranted on for kind of a long time. It is a bit of a passion thing for me because I think that I struggled with this for a while, particularly after I was cheated on, and I thought I wasn't good enough. And I really realized that it was me not loving myself. I realized that, I was not making it okay if it didn't go perfectly. And once you give yourself permission to fail, it's when you actually get outside of that part of your mind, and you can, you can have amazing sex without judging yourself and without feeling like you're going to be judged. So I hope you got something out of that. And thank you for your question. If you guys watching this have any questions, please leave them down below in the comments. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button because I have more cool content coming up. And make sure you go over and check out my blog at jasonjulius.com. And I'll see you in the next video.